You're watching Dr. Amir Sankofa Kweli live. Make sure you stay tuned, hit that like button, and subscribe. It's going down.
Death is a multi-billion-dollar industry. The cemeteries are full of people who've passed from a preventative illness. With the correct approach, you not only extend your chances of preserving your life, but you will improve the quality of your life with a natural approach. The earth provides energy healing herbs for the benefit of mankind.
Hello, I'm Amira Sankofa Kweli here at As Life Coaching Ministries. We're located at 1921 West Broadway. We've been in the healing business for over 20 years. To order my products, go to www.as314life.com. I'm available 7 days a week from 10 a.m. to 7 p.m. Namaste.
Greetings again. This is part 2 of the adoption. Again, of course, my name is Dr. Amir Sankofa Kweli, and I'm here to shed more light. And you should go back and look at part 1. It's not called part 1, it's called adoption video. I did that today. So please like and subscribe. I had to go in a rush for some reason or another. Like I told you, all my allergies and things are mess with me a little bit, so I had to go to the restroom real quick and cough up stuff. Well, I guess that's TMI, disregard, reverse. But I had to get up and I had to go real quick because I was going to go past time and I wanted to do that. Anyway, greetings, salutations, peace, love. This is not going to be a fast video. I'm going to break this down too. This is going to be different. This is going to also go into different parts because my son, we're doing a long time meeting. I can see it from here, but we're doing a time out, not a time out like a bad time out, but a good time out where he can have his space and I can have mine for a little while. That's something that, the therapy will tell you to do that as well, because you want to make sure your child can be able to play by themselves without you always being there. And I can see them from here. And as you can probably hear. So, anywho, so as I stated to you about the home study. So what entails with the home study, like I was telling you all, you definitely want to get the children through foster care are going to be a little bit older. In some cases, you may find a baby. You may find a little kid. I did look up. I at the time when I was adopting our kid, he was 5. So I looked up that is like golden promises. That is like the golden reef of adoption if you can get them at that age. So if you can get them at that age, then you are looking up. You're good. So you're looking up if you can get it at that particular time frame. Okay. Or younger, because normally foster care does have older children. But I'm not saying you not to go for foster care. Go for children who are in DCS foster care system. You can certainly get them. You definitely. I would just take your chances. I mean, it's either you have the right to decline a child, whether or not they'll send you an email, because once you get approved, they'll approve you. What will happen is they will be like, okay. So After you go through these classes, after you get approved by the particular caseworker that comes out that says, hey, yeah, I looked at our house, our house was safe, they're going to go into detail and describe basically the situation with your house. Like, her houses appear to be, his or her house appear to be such and such square feet, mileage. They have this and this and this in their room. I noticed this, that. They have a variety of nice family pictures and photos. Their home is definitely safe and is definitely passable. And they're going to have the information in there. They're going to have, like, if you have a relationship, if you're married, they're going to be like, yeah, they seem to have a cohesive relationship. They're going to have like that in the report, what they call a home study. And that's basically a report about, how your family is set up, the dynamics. They're going to, like I said, they're going to interview your children. They're going to interview everybody in your family. Everybody that you put down as a reference, they're going to ask. They're going to have like certain things like, in the report, it may say something like, and I would do it in depth. I would do it in depth more that have to do with the home. So I can break that down a little bit more. Okay. I'm not going to do all that right now, but I would certainly. And they'll say at a later date. And they will also say like a couple is responsible, or a mother or father, or whomever person is well adjusted and has a dating life, not currently seriously with anybody right now. Stuff like that. They'll say stuff like that. They'll describe your home to a T. They'll describe everything like, let's say your home's located in a hospital. It's 5 feet away, like 5 minutes away from the hospital or 2 miles away from the hospital. The schools are nearby. The neighborhood is a nice, functional area. So if you stay in a bad neighborhood, you can still rent. You can still, you can still adopt a child. But that's going in the report. So if you stay in a bad neighborhood, they'll be like, well, neighborhood's a little rough or whatever. But kids still are able to function or whatever. Whatever the case is. But they'll certainly list all of that. They'll be like, fire station is such and such miles away, police department, CVS, Walgreens, wherever you have, Rite Aid, whatever y'all got. Because that's important, because again, if you have to call in a prescription, how far is it away? Like I said, they want to know all the registration of your vehicles, the insurance cards, and all the good stuff. All that's going to be included in the home study. Now, keep in mind that just because you think that just because you give them this information all up front, that you're not going to have to do it again, wrong, you will. Not all the information, but certainly more. They will ask you for much more. So, you get approved, the caseworker's like, yeah, they're good to go, or you good to go as a single parent or the same sex, whatever couple you are, you're good to go, everything's a smash, we love y'all good. But keep in mind, make sure you read that report, y'all, because sometimes they'll have some stuff in there, they'll try to slide some stuff in there on you. Like, for example, they may say, one of the things that they did, I'll share this with you all. One of the things they asked, they kept asking a lot of my family and my references, does she have friends? Because I didn't really discuss friends and this and that. I really didn't. I didn't discuss paydays because I'm kind of more about my family. Not saying that I don't have friends or associates or things like that, but I certainly hang out with my family more than I do social buddies, especially during the corona. This was during the corona time, so of course I would go hang out with friends, because it's corona season, right? So it was during that time frame. So they kind of was concerned about that. So they kept drilling. Have you ever seen any of her friends? Have you met any of her friends? Well, no, I didn't really feel comfortable bringing my so-called friends around a lot of my family, because it was none of their business. Because you know how people are. People will sprout out your address and spew out your address, where you live at, who your family members are, and all that other stuff. So I was concerned with that. And then plus COVID. COVID was really the larger part of it, the reason why they have all these friends. But they want you to be basically normal. I'm not really normal, so whatever. But they definitely understand that you may not be normal, but sometimes the casework, it depends on the type of caseworker, type of person you are, but you have to kind of watch what they put in reports. And then you have a right to ask them, well, what do you mean by that? Just like I said, they ask you questions, so you are welcome to ask the question, well, what do you mean by this part in the report? Can you explain to me why you said this? You can always ask them, they will answer you, So after you get approved, you're like, okay, yada, 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 I am approved. They send you an email or a letter saying, hey, you've been approved. Congratulations. The caseworker might even call you personally, say, hey, guess what, guys, you've been approved. But guess what, you've been approved. But guess what, y'all, whatever, monkey, dog, cat, you've been approved. So you're like, okay, cool. You happy, excited. So now here's the thing. They'll give you the information on the websites to the whatever state that you're in. And they also have a nationwide website that you can go and look for other children. Yes, you can. And the question is, I know some of you probably going to ask me, can you adopt outside of your state? Yes, you can. Keep in mind, some states, like, for example, Pennsylvania, may not adopt outside the states. And they also have some where the family is still in contact. They still have like a relationship with other family members, like a sibling or parents or uncles, grandfathers, or whomever, somebody in the family, that they still have contact with them. So they may not let them be adopted out of their state, because a lot of times kinship is very important in some cases, as long as it's not detrimental to the child. And in some cases, you will find that the child was taken for a very good reason. Sometimes children are taken because they couldn't afford it, because they couldn't afford to take care of the child. They couldn't afford it, or they were in a bad place at the time of the termination. But DCS agreed that they would still have some type of a contact. It's a lot of different reasons. Now, what I'm going to tell y'all is, when you are searching for a child, you need to look at all of that. They will have that in what they call a child summary if it's in your local state. Now, sometimes when it's outside of the state, they may not have the full report of the child summary, because there are certain laws that they do protect from you knowing basically the child's information if you're not going to adopt. Now, in some states, you are able to call them and go, hey, what about, I looked at for example, Renee, and her number was number 55E5 monkey dude, right? So you now look and like, oh, I have the information right in front of me, because that's the caseworker. And they'll just kind of read to you the information that is not scheduled online. They'll do that as well as alternative. But the point I'm trying to tell you is that once you get their email address and once you sign in, because they have a back page. That's not the best support word. They have a part in where basically, if you go to the website, you will be into the website that essentially that you see online, but you're going into a different aspect of it. The login portion will provide, like I said, the information on the child. They have the name. I'm not gonna have the last name, just like the first name and a number for the child. So you're privy to more information as a person that's adopting a child for obvious reasons, right? So you'll look up. So for example, let's say you see a child named Sally, and you're like, oh my God, Sally looks adorable. I like what they said on case studies. Now, what I will tell you all is, sometimes you need to don't be afraid of some of the stuff that they say, because you got to, let me tell you something. Sometimes those placements, different children respond. It's just like a relationship. So you might have dated Sammy Sausagehead, right? And Sammy Sausagehead was horrible to these other people, horrible to this person, maybe semi-horrible to this person, and then when he got with you, he was great. You know what I'm saying? So you can't always believe everything that an ex tell you. Same way with the placements. That particular potential child that may be yours is going to have different, more than likely, in some cases, may have displayed different behaviors from you, according to them. And sometimes they just be wanting to remove the child out the home for whatever reason, and they may give the child a bad rap. Think about it, So you can't always trust the child summary because of some of the things that they say. Sometimes they don't tell you enough. See, it's a few things that it is. One thing it could be, and this is could be, that they tell you that you can't necessarily trust that because they maybe have a vendetta against that child, or they just didn't like the child because the child was black and they didn't want to look racist, or the child was white, they didn't want to look racist, to turn the child down. Or the child may have a mild problem or just did it that one time and they held against it and like, come get this child, because they can do that, right? So sometimes you have to get a bit more information on that. You have a right to contact the caseworker of that particular child and let them know that you want to get more information on them and you're interested in, but you want to get more information. You want them to clarify what they were talking about. B, it could also be where the child is worse than what they said. And they want to get the child out, so they'll say something nice just to get the child out and not tell you the real. That's another scenario that happens. And then another scenario is the child had been placed so much around and displaced in different homes. They've been in so many different placements that the child, is hurt and angry and is going through trauma. That doesn't mean that the child is as bad as they say it is. I mean, he or she is. I don't want to use the word bad, but they not what you think they are, because they just wanted that tender love and care. You know what I mean? So you just ask questions. Just call the caseworker and ask questions. Some things you may see, like one time it was well, I ain't gonna say that, but okay, I'll say. One time I seen a child summary where they said that the particular person was urinating in the closet, right? And I'm like, what? You know what I'm saying? And so, you think about that. You be like, well, are they doing it to be mean? Sometimes you don't know what they went through in that particular home. You know what I mean? And so I called and clarified, and they was no longer in that particular foster care because of the fact that the parents, they said that the so-called foster parents said that, but that was the case, but it wasn't what they tried to make it. That child was removed because they were mistreating that child. And the child peed in the closet because the child didn't have anywhere else to go to use the bathroom, because they punished the child and would let the child leave out their room. So again, the scenario, right? So you have to be mindful of that, okay? Because not everybody has the best intentions on foster care. Okay, so let's go to the point where you read the file, you got questions, you like, okay. So what they do is you contact the caseworker. Normally they are going to ask for your home study. So in some cases they will research your home study. They will try to look for your home study and research and then find your home study. In other cases, you as a potential parent that is interested in the child, you will send your home study off. They will give you the email, because on the bottom they have the casework email and stuff like that in some cases. So you send it out to them like you interested in the child. You have to put the child's information in the first name. They're not going to give you the last name yet. And that's the only way you get the last name is if you're adopting the child. I mean, or the child's placed to your home. So after you do that, let's say you're interested in this child, you send an email out, you send your home study out. They're like, okay, this is really interesting. They say, we're doing interviews. More than likely, is how they do it. They're like, we're doing interviews for the child. Would you be interested in being interviewed? So you're like, yeah, I'm interested in getting an interview. So the interview will consist of them asking you various questions, seeing how you answer them. One question may be, how would you feel if the child just throws a tantrum and falls out? So answer it to your best ability. Some, you know what I mean? Just keep in mind that they kind of talk to you about this during classes. Some things that they may ask you may be beyond the scope of the classroom. And some of it may be some common sense, and some maybe not so much common sense. Some may be like, I don't know. This is what I did, whatever. This is what I think I would do, or I don't know how I would handle that. You know what I'm saying? It is what it is, because you don't want to put yourself in a situation. But just be real. And then you ask some question. Well, what is little Erica like? Does Erica like monkeys, stuffies? Does Erica like game system? What are Erica dislikes, and what are known triggers that you may know, right? So you're like, okay, cool. So more than likely, keep in mind that you probably and more than likely are not the only parent that they're going to interview. Okay, so I told you it's like a job almost. And so you're like, okay, raising children is a job, right? And so you're like, okay, well, that's cool. I'm down with that. And they're like, would you like to go to a second interview? More than likely, they will probably do a second interview with you, because the interview is going to consist of the child's caseworker, maybe the child's advocate, because the children, there are a lot of caseworkers and a lot of people in between you and this kid or children. It's going to be the child's caseworker, the child's advocate, the child's educational liaison. The educational liaison may not sit in the meeting, and that will probably be after you probably meet the educational liaison after you all after the child's placed into your home. Okay, but let me just say all the buffers that are in with helping the child get to the next level of the adoption process. So you will have the liaison, you will have the child's caseworker, you would have the child's advocate. The child's advocate is the person that's the most important person. The child's advocate, and because you need to impress them, because they're going to be the ones that are the deciding factor as well. Really, the whole team, but them and the caseworker, because the caseworker has to come out to your house like once a month. Okay. So as the child's advocate, the caseworker. The child's caseworker and the child's then you got the child's the education liaison, and then you have a caseworker. You have your own individual caseworker. Some caseworkers don't allow you to talk to them when you're looking for a child. Sometimes your caseworker has to reach out to them to reach out to the caseworker if you're interested in a child. So those are the 4 people, and everybody has a supervisor. And then they supervisor has a supervisor. So just keep that in mind. And sometimes if your caseworker or somebody's not doing their job, then that's when you contact the supervisor, or if they go on vacation or something like that. We'll have that discussion in a little while. That'll be in 3 to 4 months conversation. Okay. Now, then 2, you will have your child more than likely will have a therapist. Why does your child have a therapist? Is your child crazy? Are they out of their mind? No, the child has a therapist because they have to get adjusted to the adoption period, and it's hard for them, and sometimes to figure out what the triggers are because of it's mandated. All this is mandatory. Okay. And so whatever issues that the child may or may not have, they still need to go see a therapist. Now, if the therapist recognizes the child don't need as much help, then they will cut the time down. But usually therapy can be from, depending on how old the child is, 10 minutes on up to like however long you need. So that will probably be once a week. Sometimes it can be every other week. Sometimes it can be every other month. It depends on, once a month. It depends on you and the needs of the child and what's going on. Because sometimes you need therapy too. Sometimes the therapist will actually work with you as well, and y'all will have conferences. Okay. So you got all these people, and this is not a bad team. Now I know a lot of y'all are like, dang, all them people in your business, girl. Yes, they in your business. However, what I like about it is because if you make them an ally for you. And what I've noticed, the best thing about this is that you can utilize them to make it work for you. For example, let's say that your child is school age. Sometimes these schools do treat foster children funny. So what you would do is you would contact that liaison person, that educational liaison. If you have a great liaison education, I'm telling you, they can be some bad mama jumps. You can have them call the school and check the heck out of that school, because when government get involved, that's way more weight. And that will make the school move a little bit faster. Sometimes you as a parent and the school, like, yeah, I'll touch you when I want to. But when you start getting that liaison, that educational liaison, they'll be on. You hear me? So some of these people work in the same exact offices. Some of these people are outsourced. The educational liaison, I know it is. The educational liaison and the child's advocate, or more likely, or in the same office. Now, your caseworkers may be separate because a county. Some counties are divided up, so keep that in mind. So you might be, and the counties go by the name of the counties, and they give the counties a number. So you might be in Louisville, Kentucky County, and your casework, and that division may be 12. I'm just giving an example, right? So that would be your county. So the caseworkers are based up off your county. Okay. Now, and it's based, it can, well, excuse me, it can be based off your county that you're in, or if the child is in a different county. So whatever county or city or whatever is based off that, it can be based off either one. It just depends. And you got to and research those counties and look at what you see, because sometimes some counties are not that good. Some counties may be really excellent. But either way, just be mindful of that. Make sure you read the laws. Make sure you read the laws for that county. Okay, so now this is where we get into. Now you do the second interview. You're like, okay, hey, what's up? They're like, okay, you've been approved. You've been approved for that particular child. So the next step is they'll do an interview. They'll do another interview. The interview will consist of you, the caseworker, and the child. The child's caseworker, not your caseworker, but the child's caseworker. And your caseworker may sit on it if that's what you want. If you want your caseworker to support you, that's what they're there for. Sometimes you may get that lazy caseworker, and sometimes you may get the really good. Pray for the good. But either way, just know if you, by chance that they don't do their job, you do it. You kind of push along. You make them. You have to be. Remember, I'm going to say this all the time. You have to be your child's biggest advocate. So you always have to be the child's biggest advocate. Okay. So with that said, and I'm gonna do a part 3 today. I'm not gonna break everything down today. I'm just gonna at least get past this point. So then you're like, okay, well, I want the child. So then you meet the child. Woo, this is gonna be the intense moment. This one is getting ready to get intense, y'all. Now, first of all, in looking for the child, it's not as easy as you think it is, because you're gonna probably have this mindset of wanting a perfect child. There is no such thing as a perfect child. And I told you about the paperwork and how it can be. So you just have to wear your options. So my advice is for you to send off on everything, and then just talk to the case, and then get to know the caseworker. And once you get to know that caseworker, get more information on a child, and then that's how you find it. Sometimes you have to do things by a rabbit foot. You know what I'm saying? You'd be like, rabbit foot, a gamble. It's like a gamble. It really is. It's like a gamble. You like this, throwing them dice, you know. Let me get that dice. Let me get one, snake two. You know what I'm saying? And sometimes you have to do that. Sometimes you look up, and sometimes not so good, y'all. But anywho, because the whole goal is you don't want to rehome the child, because you're going to add further trauma to the child. What does rehome mean? Basically sending them right back. What you doing, sweetheart? What are you doing? Okay. Finish eating. Don't come right here. Yo, in a little while. In a little while. I'll let you know. I'm almost done. I gotta break down a certain point, and then I'll be done. Sorry about that. I'm not gonna be on her, like I said, I'm not gonna be on her long. We'll wrap this up. I just want to finish this point, because I did promise him before he goes to bed that we're gonna play hide and go seek. So from that point, and I did intend to keep that promise. So what when you get done with that, so you know you're going through the process of elimination, or they eliminate and find out. So you might be 10 of y'all up for this, for the review. So then they might be like, no, before you meet the child, they basically said that you were the one that they chose. Your family was the better fit for the child, because it's all about the child. It's all about you too, because it got to be a marriage. You know what I'm saying? Got to be a good fit for you, and a good fit for the child. So then, okay, so like I said, the third interview would be, and sometimes you may have more interviews than that, because they might have to really be able to break it down more. You know what I mean? But as of right now, it'll be 3. The typical situation is like a third interview in most cases. So you'd be like, okay, well, let me meet the child. Then you go and meet the child. They schedule a time that's convenient for you. All this is based upon your convenience and their convenience. Okay, just keep that in mind. Don't let them try to push you into a situation where you can't make that time. That time frame is cutting, or it's not good for you. It's not good for me. Let's work that time. So you're like, okay, well, let's work that time. So you're like, okay, 5:00 on Wednesday. Then y'all agree. All right. So more than likely it's going to be online, because of everything, the way everything is happening now, is going to be online, y'all. So most of these interviews are going to be online. In some cases, they have had people to drive. But here within this COVID time frame, because people still observe COVID, okay? So you will be more than likely, guess what? Doing it online. So they do have different apps that you can use to go online. Okay, so you're like, okay, I'm gonna meet with them. So then you go and you meet with them. You schedule for the child. The child comes up there. So let's say if it's a baby. Let's say, well, you're not gonna have most conversation. You'll be talking to the foster mom probably. Oh, let me tell you, the child has a foster parent. So what will happen is, so let's say your child is 8, and you're like, okay, well, cool. So you're like, okay, so the foster parent will probably be there with the child to assist the child with the meeting process. And that's another thing. So, let's say that you meet with the child, you get to ask that child questions about what they like and dislike, and, just, child-friendly conversation. The child may, if they want to ask you questions, they probably ask you questions and you answer them as best of your ability. You can ask the foster parents or parent, a question, what the child liked, what the child didn't like, or whatever, and you do that. Then you're like, okay, cool. So then after that process go, and you decide that you want to move further, like you feel like this is a good fit for you and your family, and you go from there. So after that, what you all next thing is to do the visits. So you have to do visits, okay? But because Corona's out, more likely some of the visits probably will be on your phone, or you can do it on a computer. At that point, you need to get cool with the foster parent. Why? Because you all are more than likely going to be arranging visits. Normally, when you first meet the child, have facilitate a visit. More than likely, the child's caseworker is going to be there. In some cases, they might not be. If you have a lazy caseworker, or if you have a caseworker that feel like, hey, they grown, they can do it themselves, just let me know what happened, send me pictures or whatever. So you're like, okay, we're going to do a meeting. So y'all schedule this meeting. And let's say the caseworker is there, then y'all do like playtime. Y'all do like a play day where y'all playing and observing it, and the caseworker is observing how you handle it. Okay, let's say that the caseworker is not there. You're in that particular foster parent. Y'all scheduled to meet somewhere in a neutral place that's not in your by your house or whatever, or maybe by their house, but they don't know where you live. You're not gonna go to their house. More than likely, you're not gonna go to the foster parent house. In some cases, they do. It depends on what city you go to. In my particular, I shared that with you. My particular case, we met in the neutral zone. That wasn't too far from where they lived there, but it was definitely far from where we lived there, but whatever. And you are not reimbursed gas. Remember, I told the classes are free. I did tell y'all, I forgot to leave that out of that. The classes are free that you all are taking, okay? Now the CPR class, because you got to have CPR training, that's not free. You got to pay for that, but they're really reasonable now. So you can find classes from CPR classes from $20 and up. I've seen them as cheaper as $20 per person. But you gotta get a particular CPR class. You can't just get a random. So you just check with your caseworker, or they'll have it in the paperwork and tell you which type of class you get and pass it. And because you gotta pass these classes. Let's see, but those are free except for the CPR class. Anyway, so to veggie back. So you don't get reimbursement for, because that's your kid. You're going to see a kid. You don't get reimbursed. They don't pay for that. Nobody's get paid for that. You got to do it. You know what I'm saying? You want to meet the child. You schedule a visit, because it will behoove you to do that anyway, so that child gets to know you, because they get ready to come to your home eventually. So sometimes it depends on. Usually the caseworkers will try to get you to visit the child for at least, I would say, sometimes anywhere from 1 month, in the shortest amount of time I've seen for a month, and sometimes I've seen it go all the way up to 2 months or 3. Okay, and I'm sure there are other cases where it's probably been longer than that. Right. Again, some of that does depend on the foster parent, because the foster parent might be like, get them out of here. I'm ready to go. Or the caseworker might be like, look, we need to push this along. You know what I'm saying? Because we need to carry to close that case, because they need sometimes they need to close these cases. Anyway. And you probably want to move on with your life too, right? So anyway, you schedule, they observe you. The foster parent, of course, is taking notes and see how you all are reacting toward each other. take that time to get to know that foster parent, so that foster parent will keep it real, so y'all can have these conversations about the child's response, and then you do the play dates, and more than likely they're probably going to introduce the parent. The foster parent is going to probably introduce you to the child as the friend. I didn't like that. But anyway, they're gonna introduce you to the child as a friend. The child pretty much knows that they're, in some cases, I'm telling y'all, in some cases, now this is where this get tricky, y'all. Let me tell y'all something. Y'all better make sure that child knows that they're being adopted. I'm telling you, because that's when it's gonna be rough. Because sometimes that child does not know that you're gonna be the person that's adopting them, that you're gonna be the person that wanting to adopt them. Because I'm telling you, that could be rough. So just be mindful of that. Be careful. Just kind of watch out for that. All right. So you're like, okay, cool. Y'all do y'all visits. The visits are going great. You're kind of feeling that the child seems like they're responding really good to you. Right. So you're getting to know that foster parent. It's not that you're trying to get to know their foster parent, but you're being friendly to find out more information about the child. So you ask the foster parent everything. That's when you get down and dirty, because you don't really necessarily, if you have a great foster parent or a decent foster parent where they're willing to work with you, then they're going to give you all the juice that they experience. And when the child does this, when the child does that, when the child does this, well, what happened with the child? Well, what happened? And they'll give you the full rundown, and they probably even have some information on the family in which they came from, right? Now, here recently, I don't know how long this has been, but this has been for quite some time. One of the things that they do have now is they do have sibling visits if the child has other siblings or certain family members or whatever. But let's talk about the sibling visits. I did mention earlier, if you look on part 1, where I basically told you how the parent can certainly still their rights might be terminated, but they can still have, certain type of visits or conversations or updates or something to that degree. Now, if you're adopting a child, in a lot of cases, if you are adopting a child out of like a service, like one of these private adoption homes, more than likely those are going to be open adoptions. I'm just going to tell you the truth, unless the mother's just like or father's like no contact to the 18. I'm good, but this is primarily what they're doing now. They're doing most. Back in the 70s when I was coming up, it wasn't, unless some my biological mom wanted or my parents agreed with, then that would have been something differently. But my mother did not know the laws. My biological mother did not know the laws. Right? She was 14. Then they have internet and all that good stuff. So, and they just kind of told her whatever so they can help get the baby meat passed off. And so, I mean, basically that's what it was, because my parents paid for me. I'm just being honest with y'all. So I don't mean to say it like that, but it is what it is. I feel special about that actually. But anyway, so what's in a lot of cases, so if they have siblings, you need to find that out. Y'all need to find that out, because that can be a little tricky. Because remember, if they're coming from this particular home that they got removed out of, and if that another sibling is still in that home or into another different home, then you're gonna have to facilitate those visits. Check this out. That's a lot of work. You're gonna have to facilitate this visit. You facilitate a visit with the child. That's after they get in your home. So let's say, boom, everything works out. The child's ready to come into your home. You're going to have to set up their school, their changing of their school. You got to get a DSF placement letter. That means make sure you get that before you allow the child in home. I'm telling you, because sometimes the caseworker get lazy and they'll drop the child off. They won't have, I told you the child gets free Medicaid. So the child be getting free Medicaid, so they'll be giving you this information. You need to have all the information. You need to have the medical reports and records and school records if they're in school. You need to have all of that, the Medicaid and card information. They're not more than likely not gonna give you the card. I'm just gonna let you know, because they're gonna have the card will have all the foster mom's name on there, so or father or whomever. So you're not gonna get the card. What you're gonna do is get the paperwork with the number on there, and it's up to you to call Medicaid to get the number and information. To get their Medicaid switched over to your new address. But make sure the caseworker does not leave until, because sometimes the caseworker just drop the child off and be like, all right then, peace out, deuces. So you got to make sure they do that before they leave, whether it's a physical copy or if it's a email copy. If I were you, I would get the email copy. Because you could always print it out, but you want to have it on record, okay? At the time they send it all that's I'm just telling you, that's just something else. So once you do that, the child is there, the child is in your home. Woo, this one it get tricky. So the child is in your home, the child may be the sweetest little angel possible. And when you get to know that child, none of the stuff that they said is in the file. None of the stuff, you don't know what's going on. Because see, sometimes DCS, and I'm gonna keep it real with you. Sometimes DCS will not tell you everything, y'all. The DCS will not tell you everything about that child. They will leave out some stuff. The child may have certain type of triggers that you don't know. The child might like velvet freeze, and every time the child passes by velvet freeze, they holler, scream, fall out, and you're like, what the heck? That's not in the file, right? And so you don't find that out until you experience that. So just make sure that you try not to damage the child as best as you can, because they're already traumatic. They already have had a traumatic experience. That's why I said that traumas classes are so important, because you learn so much from them. And I think taking parenting classes wasn't a bad thing. I didn't think it was bad. I really, you would think, I'd be like, man, this is crap. No, I really did learn a lot from parenting classes, right? So you have your caseworker, you have the child's information, the child's advocate, and all these people. Excuse me, you're supposed to be able to email or call, because you're gonna have their numbers. You have the emails, telephone numbers, what office they out of. And sometimes you may not know the supervisor, but you can always look it up once you start getting information. Somebody will get you to that information that you need. So if you have any questions in the middle of the night, whenever you can text them. They let you text them, email, or whatever, or call them, and just getting that help. Okay. So once you get done with that process and you're like, okay, I'm ready to finalize the adoption. Before you finalize the adoption, guess what you got to do? You got to go back all over the same stuff. You got to get fingerprinted again. Your children don't have to do the DCS again, because they already had it done. Oh, what I left out, you got to have a physical. You got to have approval that you're in decent condition, that you can take care of a child. That's in the beginning. That's during the home study time. I forgot to tell you that. So once you do that, you're like, okay. So you're ready to adopt a child. You need to find your lawyer. If you have to pay upfront for a lawyer, I probably wouldn't use him. I would get a lawyer that already understands that DCS will reimburse you. Now, if it's any other fees outside of that, then you have to pay out of pocket. But more than likely, the lawyer costs more than likely or $1,500 for DCS adoption. DCS does cover that. Now, /point. Let me tell you this. The issue, y'all, you may have fees. So still stack you some money, because you may have some fees. Now, what I forgot to tell you is that when the child is still in your care, still under foster care, normally you'll get what I call a subsidiary. What I told y'all about subsidiary. You probably get a subsidiary. We did not. We did not. And that's another story we'll talk about that later. We didn't have subsidiary. Only thing we had was the Medicaid. But you normally are supposed to, okay? Not us. So, you had a subsidy. The subsidy is obviously for the child needs and stuff like that. We paid out of pocket. Trust me, we spent, I ain't gonna tell y'all. I ain't gonna tell y'all. But he worth it. Anyway. It's not about the money, right? It's not about the money. But I'm just telling you that's is for you to get. So don't feel bad that you're receiving monies for this particular for your children, for your children you're about to adopt. Don't feel bad about that, because that is for them. They deserve it. All the hell they went through, they deserve that money. Even if you have to take the money and save it for them to get older, or you have to pay bills or whatever their needs are, that's for you. That's for y'all to decide. Okay. Anyway, so once you're doing that, make sure you get them a doctor. Make sure that you get them all their needs, get them enrolled in school, get everything changed over. Don't post children on social media while they're in the process. In some cases, in some areas, you can place your children. I opted to stop. Not even I post my son, but I cover up his face. I don't. Even at this point, even at the stage that we are now, I still wouldn't post. I can if I want to because it's my child, right? But I still don't want to. Just now, I don't feel comfortable. Some of these people on here, some of these people is nuts. Anyway, so you do that. So you will, get the child. So you just got to follow the rules. Everything that you do, you have to let the caseworker know. So if you're going out of town, you need to let them know a certain period of time. That's why you want to ask caseworker. Well, at the period of time, you have to provide the address to where you're going. If it's overnight, you can go anywhere. Like if you let's say you go somewhere 4 hours away, but you're coming right back in one day, no big deal. But if you stay overnight, then that's when you gotta let them know. So even if let's say you're in Illinois, right? Let's say that you're in Illinois and you want to go to St. Louis, then you gotta let them know if you're gonna stay over in St. Louis. You gotta give them address, telephone number, and yada yada yada, right? And who you going to see and why? No, who you going to see? In some cases we'll be like, well, why? Family vacation, Make sure you utilize this time to really get to know that child. Make sure you utilize that child time to also make sure you find out all information that you possibly can about the child's biological family. Because keeping in mind that y'all all family, I know some people like, I don't want to be close. Some of these people I don't even want to be near because the barbecue, them people you hide your purse away from at the barbecue. In some cases that may be the case. But just trying to find out much information, whether you're gonna have contact or with them or not. You still need to, because eventually you're gonna have to tell your child whatever. Especially if they're so young. Some children may not want nothing to do with that child, and that's okay too. That's up on y'all. I told you about if you still have sibling conversations or whatever business, then that's something you'll have to work out with the particular parent. And facilitate them. So I told you that a second ago. So let's say it's been okay. So you can start adopting a child 6 months to a year. The child have to be in the home within like 6 months in a day to be in your home for you to be able to adopt in most states, right? So you're like, okay, I'm ready to adopt. It's been 6 months. Keep in mind that it may not go like how you think it will go, right? So it may be longer than that. So just kind of be prepared. Don't get too upset because sometimes DCS drag their feet, and it could be all kind of circumstances that's in the way of that. But if it's longer than 6 months, don't give up. Because you might not get that 6 month period. Sometimes people promise you things that they can't do, right? Or sometimes people promise stuff that they won't deliver because they lazy, whatever the case is, or they just can't do it. Get things in writing. Make sure you get things right so you can later refer back to say, remember you said da 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 da. That's why I say how texts are important, because you can always show text. How emails are important, you can always show email. So don't just listen to the verbal conversation, get everything in writing. So when you do that, so when you get done to that point, you're like, okay, I'm ready to adopt. If I were you, I would get an attorney right when the child is placed in your home. That's what I did. You already had an attorney, because you don't want to wait till the last minute, because you got to scramble, and just do your research on the adoption attorney to make sure that they work and they win cases, because you're gonna need them to negotiate, because you're gonna go through negotiations. You think that the lawyer's just gonna do the paperwork? No, you need a negotiator. Okay. And make sure you get a good attorney and look at the reviews and see how they are. Talk to them. They're going to do an interview with you, and then they're going to be like, okay, I'll take your case, because it's an easy $1,500 in there. All they got to do is change the names and stuff like that. It's not that bad, right? So then you're going to be talking to then at that point in time, DCS more likely like, are you ready to, you're going to try to adopt? Would you like to adopt? Are y'all still considering adopting or what? You're like, yeah. So then you have your attorney, your attorney is going to give you some paperwork that you have to fill out. Your caseworker is going to give you some paperwork that you have to fill out. More than likely, if I were you, I'd have the attorney, because that's what he's getting paid. He or she is getting paid big bucks to do that. So they're going to send you the paperwork, because sometimes DCS caseworkers won't send you none to act like they don't know what you're talking about. So sometimes it's best to talk to the attorney, because they more than likely are experienced and they already know how it works. How you doing, King Kev? Thank you. So when you're giving the information, you're like, okay, cool. So y'all providing all the information, y'all breaking it down, y'all like, okay, cool. So the attorney's gonna give you some information. Please fill out that paperwork. And guess what? Remember how I told you had to get some information up front? Now you gotta get some more information. So basically, you gotta give, your bank account information. You gotta take another fingerprint, and fingerprinting is like 6 months. It gets old after 6 months. So if your case ain't done within the 6 month period, you're gonna take another. Oh, and that's a cost to you. You got to pay for that. Like I said, it's like $60 and up. I've seen it per person. So you're paying for the fingerprints. You get your fingerprints. It comes back, and more than likely, it will make sure you have it sent directly to in reference to you, meaning you have your email as well as casework email. So because if you try to send it to them, they'll be like, how do I know you didn't print this out? No, have it directly sent to them and just have them to forward you on the information. So then they'll send the information out. You'll receive the information like, hey, you passed fingerprint, whatever. Good. More than likely you're gonna pass because you didn't commit no crime. You didn't rob no bank within the last 6 months of that child being there. Okay, let's just assume that the child been there for 6 months and 1 day. So you're like, okay, cool. So after that takes place, what you're gonna do is you're gonna give them you're gonna fill out all this paperwork. You're gonna fill out more paperwork, y'all. I'm telling you, it's something else. You're gonna fill out more paperwork. And then their lawyer is going to contact your lawyer, and DCS lawyer is going to contact your lawyer and be like, well, can you ask her to explain this? And if you have a good attorney, your attorney is going to already label, even though they may ask you for something, your attorney already going to have like a cheat sheet for you that tells you everything that you need, and also has like the way to fill it out. So therefore it don't make you look crazy. And if you don't understand something, guess what? Open your mouth and ask. Closed mouth don't get fed. And your attorney by then is going to start really working for you. They should. So once you do that, the attorney's filling out this paperwork. I'm telling you, that paperwork. Oh, that paperwork was killing you. I was like, what? They wanted 3 months of bank statements, y'all. 3. I'm like, oh my God. Then they not only wanted that, then they wanted 3 months of pay stubs, okay, from each job you got, from every hustle. Even if you have a let's say you get SSI benefits, they want a summary of all of that. They want to know how much you spent on the child. Okay, this one to get interesting. How much you spend on a child? If you have a child, like let's say you have stepchildren, or you have children outside of the home, or you have children in the home, they want to know how much you spent on even those children. If they have like activities like karate, they're going to know how much it is, a receipt from that for 3 months. If the child is getting tutored, they're going to want to know all that. How much are their lunches? How much you pay for their lunches? How much is your grocery? Yes, all your utility bills, your car insurance, every bill that you got, they're going to know. Telephone, cellular phone bills, every birthday gift, because that child been there for 6 months. So more than likely, that child probably had a birthday. Okay, so they're going to know how much you paid for the birthday, how much the clothes that you bought for the whole entire time. And if you was like me, we did not get no money like that. So we had to provide all of that. And let me tell y'all something, the kicker thing. They're going to be fussing at child if it was on the internet. If you just have the receipts on the internet, because I'm an internet shopper, it got to be put out right. And then if it doesn't look good, then they're going to have a problem with that. Is adoption affordable for the average Black family? Yes, absolutely. It is. That's what I'm trying to tell everybody. It's definitely affordable. It's free. It's free for the exception of certain things. You go back and look at my first video. Like, for example, you're going to have to pay for your CPR class. If the attorney has filing fees, you're going to have to pay for that. But DCS does cover your filing fees. In most cases, DCS, they're supposed to, and notice how wink, they're supposed to give you a subsidiary each month, which is money for the child. In some cases, like, man, we didn't get that. So anyway, at this point, you're going to get a subsidiary. So they want to get your bank account information so they can send you the card. They give you a card, or they can direct deposit into your account. So they're gonna want all of that. They're gonna want on everybody's spend. It's definitely affordable. I mean, you can be on welfare, you can be on SSI and be able to adopt a child. Yes, you can work at McDonald's and be able to adopt a child. As long as you can afford your bills, as long as you got running water and your house is clean, you could be an Amish person and not have electricity. They don't even have, some of them don't even have, a lot of them, majority of them, 99 point, whatever, Amish don't have electricity and they're able to adopt children. Think about that. They're able to adopt children. So you don't think you wouldn't be? And they, they living off the land for the most part, right? So they're able to adopt children. So yes, I already told you the requirements for it up front. Look at the first video. Go back and look at my video. I'm doing, this is part 2. So the next thing you want to do, you want to be all like, so when you get done, once you get done to that point, you're like, okay, cool. So they're gonna ask you, like I said, for a whole bunch of stuff. I mean, oh my God. And then you gotta provide receipts. So if you pay for a child's glasses, like my son lost his glasses once. So we had to pay out of pocket for $140 for these little cheap glasses. He don't even wear no more because he don't even need them no more. So anyway, we had to provide the receipt. I mean, I'm telling you everything. Even the children that may come there once a month, or children that's in the home on a permanent basis, on a full-time basis, then guess what? You have to provide that information for them as well. How much the clothing allowance that you spend, how much money did you spend on clothes? They're going to want to know that too. What your expenses are, because that's based about income, because they want to know how much money you can possibly get or not get. You may qualify for it, So once you get done with it, y'all, oh my God, it's gonna be a grilling process. If you have some of those DCS attorneys or something else, and they'll be like, look, we need this, explain this. Well, I have a question. What about this? What about that? And so your attorney's gonna email you the questions. They'll be like, hey, they're gonna forward your questions. So such and such lawyer asked why you do this, that. Make sure y'all fill out that paperwork, because I'm telling you, one of those things I filled out. I'm sure this with you. I was so tired, y'all. I was wore out by then. And I'm telling you, some of the questions I misunderstood. I was tired, and I was just like, look, stop asking. I just got wore out asking questions, and doing all this stuff, and finding all this paperwork, and searching for this and searching for that. That I just answered any kind of way, and they're gonna grill you about it. They're like, well, why'd you say that then? Well, why did you say that if you didn't mean that? It's like, because I was tired. I just tell myself, look, I'm tired. Just do your job. I'm tired. I didn't feel like, I just looked at it wrong. I don't know. I'm tired now. I'm going through so much in this paperwork. I'm telling you, the money is not the issue with adoption. It's the paperwork. It's the paperwork and certain other inconsistencies. That's a whole nother conversation. That'll be a separate video. So, once you get done with all that, they do what they call a negotiation. So now you're at the negotiation process. So your lawyer is supposed to be a good lawyer. So we're going to assume that your lawyer is a good lawyer. So your lawyer's like, okay, well, he or she's going to want the best for you. So they're going to try to negotiate a certain amount. So now this is where you get into the money. This is where you get into the benefits for the child. So whether the child's going to get a subsidiary or stipend, whatever you want to call it. But it's called subsidiary. So the child, it could be $1, it could be $1 or no dollars. It could be no dollars a day, nothing, zilch, or up to $20 a day, provided the child doesn't have. If the child has certain disabilities, then certainly that might be a little bit differently. Okay, but let's say in my case, we ain't going to talk about that. I don't got business anyway. But so when you the medical, okay, so when children go, so let me tell you something. When children go up DCF, when they're a foster kid, they might or might not get, like I said, the subsidiary, but they are going to get free Medicaid at the age of 18, and their college is paid for free. Dig that. So you won't have to worry about paying for college, for the child. So that's one of the things that's going to be included. So just keep that in mind. Now, another thing is that, let's say that you were getting a subsidiary already. In our case, we wasn't. I know I keep saying that, but it's true. Let's say in your case that you're getting a subsidiary. So the subsidiary, you might have been getting like $20 a day, and then all of a sudden you look once you get approved, they're like, well, you don't need $20 a day no more. You need to you're gonna get it can drop down or raise up. So just keep that in mind, okay? So from there, so your lawyers negotiating for you. Your lawyer's like, okay, this is cool, yada yada yada, and they're gonna go on that whole thing, and then they're gonna get back with you like, hey, you get this amount, you got approved, you didn't get this problem, whatever the case is. This is what we negotiated. Here's which proof. Sign this paperwork. You're gonna get some more paperwork to fill out, so you're gonna fill out that paperwork and send it in. Then the other lawyer, your lawyer, signs off on it. In some cases, casework might sign off on it, whatever the case is. It'll come back to you within a certain period of time. The next step would be for them to they have to file for the petition. Some lawyers file for the petition early on. That might be a set. Like I said, that's going to be a fee, and it's not going to cost. The filing fee is no more than $300. It's not that bad. I promise. You're not paying that much. I promise you. So, and some lawyers may have it included with that $1,500. Who knows? Again, that's on your lawyer. That's on lawyer issues. So and I have a good lawyer actually. He got on my nerves, but I still would recommend him to somebody. I just be like, look, you have to inform him of this, that. So once your paperwork comes back approved, yada yada. Now the next step is to go through the what they call the vital records, the health information of the father, whatever, so to speak. So that you have to wait on that to come back. Once that comes back, well, you are and of course your attorney should have already filed. Make sure you ask them question. Have you filed yet? I need you to file petition for the adoption because the child's up and ready to be adopted. Because the caseworker already told you within the 6-month period, that 6 months and 1 day. Sometimes if you have a good caseworker, they'll kind of remind you as they go. Like when they get to that 5-month period, we're like, okay, go ahead and adopt, right? So then they'll do that filing for you. So they'll go to the court's file. They'll send you back information is correct, is your name correct, or whatever. And that's like, yeah, it is. Okay, that goes back. So they file. After they get that paperwork, then a court date is scheduled. And from there, during the court date process, they are going to ask you, with the attorney, more than likely, they're going to ask you some questions. They probably ask you a few questions like, do you feel like you can take this child? Why are you adopting this child? How do you feel about this child? Whatever. The judge is going to ask you questions. You're going to answer them. They might be like, well, do you love this child? How do you feel? And they might ask the child, are you really happy in this home? And they'll be like, yeah, I'm happy. Or this parent son, or whatever the case is. And then they'll go from there. And then this is what they call the finalization of the adoption. Finalized adoption or finalization of the adoption. So then you go to court. That's when you see the people in court and they'll be talking to the lawyer and the child. The judge will take a picture, get the child a gift in most cases. You receive a nice little gift for the child. They like something little, they might do a stuffed animal, stuffy, as my son called it. So they give your child a stuffy or a book bag or whatever the hell it is, or a pen, or you can take a picture with the judge. And whatever. You move on with your life. The end. So anyway, that's all I got for you. The next video that I do, I'll do another video on the semantics with when you're dealing with how you deal with certain pitfalls in adopting through foster system. Anyway, thank you so much. I appreciate your time. I gotta play hide and go seek. It's time for my son. It's just kind of emotional. Like, Mama, here we write this up. Because I thought about myself, I'm not coming back on her tonight. I'm tired. So I gotta play hide and go seek with him. He already ate. He already did his homework. His room was already clean. So it's not mommy and son time. I gave him enough time to have his space to chill before he went to bed. So now it's our time again. The life of a mom, right? Anyway, thank you so much. I appreciate your time. Have a blessed day. Go to my website, www.ask314life.com to get, the life coaching, etc. And the psychic readings. To get the herbs, www.euphoricEnergyLLC.com. And you also know I have 4 different businesses because I'm believing in generational wealth. It's so important for me to create, for my husband and myself to create generational wealth for our children, for our seeds, for their children, okay? Generational, right? So cleanomics.com, or you can go to my other business. That's of course my cleaning business. I do all kind of cleans if you're here in the local Louisville area, or if you're in the Indiana area, depending on how far you out, we may come to you. Depends on how far you out. If I'm in an area, if you're paying some good money, or if I'm on a whim where I'm down there, and I'll be able to hook you up. I also have a floor. We have a flooring business as well. It is Cleanamics. I'm sorry. The cleaning business is cleanamic.com. Okay, and it's listed here in the. You'll see it in the little listed below. Now you can also go to the flooring business. The flooring business I'm saying about it's called Flooranomics. Flooranomics.com. You can certainly do that, and we can go from there. And I do so much appreciate each and every one of you. If you have any questions regarding adoption and you're thinking about it in your area, I can certainly help you to kind of go through it. But it's certainly affordable. But just understand that it does take longer than if you went to a private agency. But sometimes not, because even in a private agency, mother can protest within a 6-month period. They do give them a spirit time to protest. So you definitely want, if you're thinking about adopting, you definitely want to adopt a child who her parents' rights have been terminated or whatever, or if they voluntarily terminate their rights, whatever, termination of rights. Okay. But anyway, that's a whole nother conversation. Anyway, thank you so much. Signing off.
You're watching Dr. Amira Sankofa Kweli live. Make sure you stay tuned, hit that like button, and subscribe. It's going down.
Death is a multi-billion-dollar industry. The cemeteries are full of people who've passed from a preventative illness. With the correct approach, you not only extend your chances of preserving your life, but you will improve the quality of your life with a natural approach. The earth provides energy healing herbs for the benefit of mankind.
Hello, I'm Amira Sankofa Kweli here at Ask Life Coaching Ministries. We're located at 1921 West Broadway. We've been in the healing business for over 20 years. To order my products, go to www.ask314life.com. I'm available 7 days a week from 10 a.m. to 7 p.m. Namaste.